So I'm just going to talk to you about session planning, and the first thing you need to decide is where the session is going to be, and that impacts quite a lot on the type of session you can run. So for example, noise levels in the environment or space, that sort of thing, will come in. And then you want to think about the aim of the session, what you're trying to achieve. So I know this sounds really funny rather, but maybe it's just to have a bit of fun with the people. Sometimes it can be to unpack certain things about a person's history, some work histories, different life experiences, what the people were doing during the war, blah, 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 blah. Second World War is becoming a little bit cliched now. There's a lot of the guys that were there during that are well into their 90s. So in the next 5 to 10 years, there won't be that many of them around. But you'll have the Korean War and the Malaysian War, and there's still going to be guys that were part of that or had husbands that served in that. So the objectives of the session, and normally you'll have a larger aim, which is a bigger goal, and you might slice that down into 3 sort of smaller goals as part of a session. I'd say 3 because even that's a maximum. If you're working with someone for a couple of hours, 3 is quite a lot of goals or objectives rather to have. Then you'd look at who's going to deliver the session, and that's probably going to be yourself, but who else you're going to have in there to help you assist. How long the session is going to last, and so how long you're going to be delivering for. Over what time span, so are you going to do it as a one-off session, or is it going to be a series of sessions that interconnect? The methods of working, whether you're going to work in sort of a large group, small groups, pairs, one-to-ones. The media you're going to use, so when we talk about media, are you going to use DVD and films or internet footage, PowerPoint, flip charts, pictures, books, audios, and recording documents? So some sort of like a photo album or something made up by the person. The triggers you're going to use, so we're going to talk a little bit about that in the next video, but the big 5, so where you're going to get your triggers from. The questions to be used, so the type, I pre-plan some of the questions out that I'm going to ask, and I don't stick to it for love or death, but it gives me a guide. The desired outcome of the sessions, and how are you going to assess the outcomes to see whether you've actually met them. So for some people that doesn't really come into it, those last 2 points, but if you're receiving funding for the session, you're going to need to evidence that you've actually delivered what you're receiving the funding for. So I hope that's been of help. That's just a little bit on what you'd have in a plan. And next bit, we're going to talk about some of the triggers.